I'm setting off to begin the pace lap. I'm on pole position, so in front of me there is nothing but the pace car, and you can see it going through turn 1 now. During the pace lap, it's up to me in order to build the temperatures gradually, build the temperature of the tyres, build the temperatures of the brakes in order to make sure they're all within working range, in order to make sure the car is ready for me to set off when I need to just go and keep everyone behind me. Right now on this straight, I'm just looking at my mirrors, checking that I know everyone's where I'm expecting them to be. Through Eau Rouge here, I'm just looking and making sure the track surface is what I'm expecting it to be, because next time I come through here it's going to be at full speed and I don't want to have any surprises of grip changes or anything like that. You can see me weaving here in order to start building tyre temperature when I'm on the straight. I'm also using my left foot to build temperature in the brakes. And here the safety car slows down in order to bunch everyone up. In this next clip you can see the safety car's backed right off, everyone's slow. This is going into Blanchimont 2. I'm making sure the tyre temperatures and the brake temperatures don't drop off, so every so often I'm just tapping the brake with my left foot in order to make sure the brake temperatures don't drop off too much. Here I'm mentally preparing myself, looking at my mirrors, identifying who I'm going to be racing. I'm thinking that I need to be in second gear, going through the bus stop chicane, making sure I get a good start, reminding myself the starting procedure. Always have to overtake after the safety car line, which is the start line. The lights on the gantry will turn from red to green. This is what I'm looking out for in order to make sure I know when to start. I'm familiarising myself with these key points as I'm going into this final corner, just trying to remain clear and calm. I try and open up the left-hander here in order to make sure I'm on the right-hand side of the track in a defensive position as well as it being the pole position on track. I build the speed in order to make sure I know I'm in the torque band, looking for the green light to come on the gantry. You can see the lights have just turned green. I go flat out, change up to third. I'm already defending to the guys on my left. Turn 1's quite tight, especially on the inside. Just have to slow it down a little bit more than I usually would, pin the throttle open and start to build speed down. The key with the TVR is to save brakes in a long race, so I'm braking at this gantry here just a little bit, off the brakes, changing down gear, turning left into here, right up into Radion. I'm flat through from that apex even when I can't see anything, because the TVR is such straight line speed I can pull away from anything. It's a very long straight. Usually I'm hitting about 150 miles an hour in qualifying. In race now, because I've just started, I'm only reaching 140 miles an hour. Braking slightly earlier to save the brakes, trying to carry as much speed through here, minding that I've got 160 kilos of fuel on board. I'm making sure the brakes aren't going to be overheating into these kind of corners because they're big stops. Hug the corner round and round. If you look on the inside of the corner, it's got the track falls away and you can actually hook your tyre in. On this curb on the left, it's a brand new curb. Usually avoid it like the plague, but now because it's got a new formation, you can hook your tyre in and then pull you round. Here I'm just trying to brake as light as I can in order to make sure the temperatures don't spike on the brakes. Early on throttle to settle the rear coming round to this corner. Full throttle on the way out, make sure I'm making use of the power. Now I can spot this guy behind me making a lunge for me on the brakes. I slightly lock up, just trying to get the car slowed. I try and give him a bit of a race, but I realise that I'm just going to use the brakes. It's a very long race, it's 3 hours. I can catch him up later on. I just need to make sure I stay with him, keep the pace up, and everything will be alright. The key is just to make sure the brakes don't overheat. It's all about prioritising brakes. I'm building speed here, I'm full throttle. As you can see, I'm gaining. However, I'm trying not to make a move happen because it's very unstable. As you can see here, the rear steps out on me coming into Blanchimont 2. I give the brakes a quick tap on my left foot to make sure they're all ready for me to hit hard here when I'm trying to stop for the bus stop. Turning right, opening up the left to kind of get on throttle early. It's slightly off cam so you can hear it chugging away, then it will come on cam. Change up to third. That's the end of the first race lap, and this goes into the fastest lap that I do in the race. It also turned out to be the second fastest lap of the whole entire race, so I'm very proud of this lap. Coming into to turn 1, have to carry a lot of speed. Coming down here, I need to make sure I don't touch the brakes going to Eau Rouge in order to save them, so I'm just off the throttle here, change down to third, carry the revs, back onto throttle here, going flat up to the top of Radion. Going down the straight, pulling fourth gear, trying to keep the speed as high as I possibly can. Reaching about 145 by the end of the straight. I brake a little bit early in order to save the brakes. Down to third, down to second. Turning in, trying to just pick up that apex in order to pull me around. Try not to be too greedy on this left-hander, otherwise you can't get back to the left and to get to the right. Back on throttle early to settle the rear down, get a slight snap of oversteer, up to third. Braking downhill here, it's easy to lock up as you're going downhill. Hook into that groove that I explained earlier. Hold it, hold it, hold it, and back on full throttle. Get over to the right, brake and angle for this next curb in order to pull you around. Back on full throttle, just trying to keep up with this guy. He's very good on brakes, he's able to go in with a lot more speed than me. Coming here into Pouhon, start building the throttle here in order just to make sure the rear settles down. It's very heavy with fuel and the wind is quite high, so it's very volatile in order to just keep the rear down. Here you're turning it really late in order to make sure you get a straight exit here in order to keep over to the right for the left. That way it opens up the exit of the corner here so you can get on full throttle early. You're braking here, turning into the right, start to build the speed here. You don't want to brake for this next one, you just want to do a slight lift to get the weight over the front. Start building the power now, full throttle from here, just trying to keep past the guy in front of you. Just keep going, building the speed. This next left-hander for Blanchimont 1, you just want to do a slight lift to make sure you get the front end in, back on full throttle, straddle this white line to give you as much opening for the next corner. Tap your foot on the throttle just to give you a little bit of a settle through with the rear going through that corner. Using the gantry as your brake marker for the bus stop, braking, turning in here just to try and get everything to line up. Turning for the left for the pit straight, and that is my first lap of the race for the Spa Summer Classic. In this next clip, I want to demonstrate what it's like to defend from another car. TVR's biggest sore point is its brakes. I'm always having to try and manage the brakes, especially in such a long race. Coming into turn 1, I'm having to take a defensive line. I can see something in my left hand mirror. I know that it's going to be a struggle to stop it for this corner because they can tell the brakes are getting hot. I'm on the brakes here. I'm starting to lock up as I turn in for the corner, so I lose a little bit of speed. I plant my foot on the throttle. He's gotten past me, however I know that I've got the straight line speed on him on the Camel Straight. So I'm just trying to stick with him down, going towards Eau Rouge. I'm saving the brakes here by just lifting, changing down to third here, using the revs to slow me down. So left, then right, I'm back on the throttle here. I'm just building the speed here, and you can see how much straight line speed I have on this guy. I'm very conscious that I need to pass him early on the straight, as I know he can outbrake me. As long as I've got enough distance on him on the straights, I know I can brake, get to the apex early, and that means I have taken the place back. And as you can see, he didn't come back past me, so I'm now focusing on the car ahead. I've got a slight slide from the rear, trying to carry it through, just trying to make sure I've got enough speed to make sure I don't lose a position again, because it means that I use a lot more brakes, I lose a lot of time. Defending a different car means you have to go off the ideal racing line, make sure that you can defend your position. It's key to remember that you use brakes a lot when you defend. So in this next corner, I decided to let the guy by and just give him a little bit of space in the corner. That way he doesn't hit me, but I could see him dive on the brakes. You can see him here, he's just picked up on the left. I try and use a straight line speed in order to defend on the way out of the corner, but at the end of the day it's a long race. I didn't want to use up all the brakes, a lot of tyres, so I just decided to let him go. I know that I'll be able to get him by the end of the race. For this next clip I want to demonstrate what it's like to try and overtake traffic whilst chasing someone. So going to pit path here, you can see there's a white car on the left hand side giving room to the pink Porsche in front of me. I'm keeping over to the right, being mindful that he's on the racing line. He moves over to the right to take the ideal racing line. I go down his inside. I'm watching the two guys in front of me race. I change down into second in order to give him a bit more mid-range power. Get past the first blue guy. Coming into the right here, the green TVR gives me a bit of room on the inside, so I take the gap, go full throttle, change up into third. I've made the move past him. Little do I know there's a car coming up later on, which you will see appear when I get past Blanchemont 2. So high speed corner here, make sure I got a couple of loads to settle the rear. Okay, there's a bit of smoke coming up, so it's a slow car in front, it's obviously got a problem. So I'm braking for the bus stop here. The guy that's smoking as a back marker is slow into the bus stop and he's going into the pit lane. He slows down a lot to try and go into the pit lane, which blocks me. It means I lose a lot more time and lose a lot more time to the guy in front of me. Now, in a 3-hour race, there's a big gap between pace of different cars. So because I qualified on pole, that pretty much means that the car on me is one of the fastest on the track. It's me and the two Porsches that we saw earlier. We have a good range of people in between. So this BMW on the left is a car that's further back. The Elan that's on my right is a little bit faster with power because obviously there's some that qualified higher. Now there's a green Porsche in front of me that's quite close to the speed that I'm doing, but you have to plan to make sure you get past him in a controlled manner because they can go in the corners about the same speed. It's the straights when they usually lose out on pace. So I'm passing this grey Alfa Romeo on the right here. I'm chasing the green Porsche in front of me. They're very good on brakes, they're very good in the corners, so I'm having to plan to wait and make sure I pass them on it straight to make sure I don't lose too much time behind it. It's always hard to know where you're going to be passing them because I was thinking maybe I can pass them on this little bit of straight, but no, back, brake here, plan for the next straight which is going towards Blanchemont. Left here, you can see he's sliding around a bit more, so he's not as fast as he ideally would be like. Going to right here, accelerate. Now I can plan to make sure I get past. I need to brake a little bit here just to make sure I get to the corner safely. I'm accelerating here, making sure I get past. In this next clip, I've just been called into pit. I've just caught sight of this guy on my right who's span off into the gravel. So the key here is to make sure I get in front of everyone as quickly as possible just in case a safety car comes out, which means I won't be able to push as quickly as I could in order to get into the pit. This also means that it's perfect time for us to pit because it means we lose less time onto the safety car. As I approach this part of the circuit, I prepare myself in order to get ready for the pit stop, as the pit entry is just on the right out of the bus stop. If you go straight on here, it goes into the pit entry. I then change my predicted lap time to speed in order to make sure I adhere to the 60 km/h pit speed. I make sure I ready myself in order to get out of the car. Just as I get out of the car, I loosen off my belts in order to make sure that Ollie can get in and get his belts up and then time him up. I flash my lights in order to make sure the guys have seen me. I then pull up at my marks. As you can see, Ollie is now in the car and setting off down the pit lane. There's a yellow flashing light on the gantry, which means there's a safety car around. This means that the cars on the track are moving a lot slower than they otherwise would do at full race speed. Because of this, we decide to fuel early because it means we lose less time, which means at the end of the pit lane we have to turn right into a petrol station. And it looks like just any other petrol station, which is one of the cool things about Spa, especially in the endurance races. We just fuel up like it's a normal day, just fueling at the pump. See Ollie turning right here into the petrol station. It's all bollarded off, that way you don't encounter oncoming cars. You turn left into the petrol station here. We caught everyone off guard. You can see there's people running to get to the petrol station on time because we're the first in to get fuel. Ollie is refueled and is about to set off. And crucially, you don't want to spend too much time stationary whilst in a fuel stop, because it means that there's more cars going past you at any one time. Once you set off, you still have to adhere to the 60 km/h speed limit. As soon as you cross the pit exit line here, it's fair game, you can go whatever speed you like. As you can see by the yellow flashing marker there, you're still in the safety car, so it means when you get on track you can't overtake anyone. So it's really important in order to get to this safety car line, which you can see there, that's the safety car line, which means that now you've got to stay in order really. There's going to be a car on the left in a second that decides to overtake Ollie, which is not allowed, so we retake position. At Spa, there are several places that you can start from a safety car. Here at Piff Path, you'll be able to see there's a green light flashing, which means that we can start overtaking from here. I will then dive down to the inside of this back marker, trying to get past him as quickly as possible so we can drive away from this traffic and get the guys in front. In most European tracks you have to cross the start-finish straight in order to start overtaking again. However, Spa is so long that we can do it at certain other places that they give us. In this clip, you'll see Ollie race a Daytona Cobra position. These kind of events are very intense. You have to feel the car and just be consistent through each corner and make sure you gain consistently in order to get that position. I want to now take a step back and let you just listen to what the car and Ollie is doing in order to get in this position. I hope you enjoy. this final clip, you'll see what ultimately happens to us in this race. Sadly, the engine lets go. As you can see, Ollie is still pulling up through the gears. The car starts to accelerate a little bit less than what we're used to. If you look in the camera on the inside of the car, the engine starts to smoke. Ollie goes through blanchiment 2, then starts looking in his mirror and realises smoke bellowing out the back of the car. In these kind of situations, usually we try and pull off if we could, but considering how close we are to the pits, he decides to come into the pits and try and lose less time because it's a long race. He might be able to get the car going again, might be an easy fix, but he just needs to pit. We could have used without this if we went on, but ultimately damage was terminal, we couldn't carry on in the race, which is sad because we were on pole and we were definitely lined up to be at least on the podium. Ollie beckons him over with the flip of the light switch and ultimately they decide to retire the car.